Parthi and Anu. Thank you for accepting to be part of this project. Okay.
Thank you for inviting us, asking us.
Thank you. The first question, Parthi, why have you decided to run this year for school board trustee?
I think the Toronto District School Board has been facing a lot of challenges. Last year, the Toronto Star revealed an investigation that found a lot of financial mismanagement in the tens of millions and cost overruns. There was a famous example of the $143 to install a pencil sharpener, which a lot of people found rightfully so ridiculous and unjustifiable. So there's been a lack of oversight, and that problem is symptomatic of a larger leadership problem. A lot of our children in Scarborough South West, but also in Toronto, have fared poorly on our annual reading, writing, and math tests, and that's something that needs to change. All our children need to have a fair shot at any career. And you know, as an educator, I know those tests are just one component. It's just one snapshot in time, but it reveals how well our children are doing in those test scores, which I think to a lot of parents it's very important. And even those who don't have children in the school system, the unfortunate reality is that test scores play an influential role in property values. So, you know, and in certain areas, this issue is of primary concern. And also, you know, another unfortunate thing that's still happening in our schools is bullying. I was bullied as a kid, and it's still happening now, and increasingly more so because of cyberbullying. And that's something that hasn't been taken as seriously, and that's a feedback I've heard from many parents at the doorsteps, that bullying isn't being taken seriously. There was a famous case in my own ward in Scarborough South West where a girl was being bullied for 2 years, and her father was very upset with the response they were getting. And that girl, unfortunately, made threats to end her life. Thankfully, she didn't act on them, and things are better now. But it took the family 2 years to get an adequate response from the school system in their case. So there's a general lack of leadership and vision, and a general sense that the school board should be working for the children's best interests as opposed to anybody else's. So I'm looking to bring back that connection with children.
What are some of the values that you grew up with that you want to take with you into this role?
I think, you know, growing up in a family of teachers, certainly the respect and understanding that education, good education, sets the life path of everyone is a critical understanding. I think, you know, one thing my grandmother taught me was courage, and that's something she lived her life demonstrating, and many times in political life and in public life you have to take positions that may not be popular, and that's always been a guiding light for me in terms of whether it's politics or activism, that, you know, doing what's right for the better as opposed to what's popular is an important value.
So GTA in Toronto, we embrace multiculturalism, and there are schools that are serving specific ethnic groups or religious groups that's in place. And do you feel like that's actually embracing multiculturalism, or do you think that's kind of isolating these groups into little clusters, and maybe we should work on more of making it a sort of a general system?
I think, you know, I'm a strong believer in public education. I did all my schooling in Scarborough and in public schools, and benefited, greatly derived a lot of benefit and excellent experiences by being in a very diverse public school system. Having said that, Ontario does allow for private and independent schools to operate. That some are, you know, very old, like Upper Canada College, and some are very new in the last couple of years as immigrant communities come and choose to set up their own schools. So I think certainly we, as a free society, we allow that, and I think for the most part Ontario and Canada and Toronto has done a very good job in managing that diversity. And I think what's testament to it, 95% of Ontario students go to public schools, and I think that's something that's very good. Of course, there's always room for improvement, and, you know, there's been discussion. Recently, the Ottawa Citizens in Today had an editorial encouraging Premier Kathleen Wynne to look at perhaps sharing duties between the Catholic system and the public system, and there's discussion of merger. So I think that is something that's on the mind of a lot of Ontarians and Canadians as well. Many other provinces have done that. So it's a discussion that's starting to happen, I think, but requires more.
And you are encouraging that type of discussion? Is that something that
I think a lot of people are asking questions about that. There's a lot of benefit, and I think it's something that many people are perhaps looking down the line in terms of the future as an option.
So Anu, you're also a teacher, so tell us your thoughts on this topic and the discussion.
Well, she's a university lecturer and a sociologist. So.
In training, so take that as you will. But I think I agree with Parthi that it is definitely a complicated issue. I'm also a very, very strong advocate for a public school system. I think we're very lucky in Canada that we have a school system a public school system that parents want to send their children to, right? We see across the border where parents opt not to. And I think we kind of fail society when we take our kids out of public schools. Having said that, I do believe that, it's this fine balance of how do we then allow for people's individual choice. If I don't see my child fitting into my local public school, should I then be denied my choice to send them to an alternative school? So I think that option should be made available, which we have right now. But at the same time, I think the Toronto District School Board and other school boards should think of ways, creative ways, and I'm sure people who are more versed in this aspect of sociology that I don't really know much about. But I think we need to find ways of incorporating different community schoolings into our public schools.
So that leads to this question, teaching religion at schools. Recently there were discussions and parents were saying that, some parents are saying it's not a priority, we should focus on math, English, the things that prepare children for university. And there some were saying that no, religion is something that needs to be taught at school. So what are your thoughts on that?
I certainly agree with the parents that school needs to be about the fundamentals, and the fundamentals is not just reading, writing, and math. I think there's a level of character education that's happening in schools. Teachers, especially at the elementary level, spend arguably more time with the kids than some parents do, and as a result have a tremendously influential role in molding the values and character of our children. So all the school boards in Ontario have very rightfully introduced and implemented a character education program that teaches these values such as honesty, integrity, love, caring, sharing, kindness, and so on. And I think that those values are exactly what religion wants us to practice. So the idea of bringing something as organized as religion, I don't think is a good thing for public schools. I think we should, and rightfully so, retain our secular nature and keep it as such. And I think a lot of parents are happy with that approach, and it appeals to the vast majority of parents, from my experience.
All right, so let's go into a different topic here. In the past few years, there were reports done on the Toronto District School Board regarding some allegations with school board trustees intimidating school board staff. So if you do get elected, what would you be doing to maintain a healthy working relationship is there between you and the staff?
I think something as simple as being polite, being respectful, again, practicing those values that we learn growing up and in our school system, I think will serve anyone well. There have been two unfortunate cases of what people call trustees behaving badly, and it's unfortunate because it sets a very negative tone to the position and to the environment, and certainly a bad example for children. So if having the privilege of being elected and serving as a trustee, I think beyond my own personal conduct, which I think is important. I think there needs to be integrity commissioner at the TDSB that manages these relationships and ensures that there is decorum and there is a sense of respect between senior staff and the trustees.
Let's talk a bit about patriotism. So there's always this argument between compared between Canadians and Americans. They always say Canadians are not patriotic compared to Americans. And what are your thoughts on that? And then is there anything that we can do at the TDSB level to encourage children to be patriotic about this country? Because everyone's coming from different backgrounds, and we are allowed to express, express our values with our cultures and embrace that. So what are your thoughts on that, and what can we do at the TDSB level?
I think it's that question is a very good question. I think a lot of people think about it. I think in my opinion, it's apples and oranges. I think Americans have a certain flavor, and Canadians have a certain nature. And I think as Canadians, I wouldn't say we're not patriotic or not patriotic enough. I think we are deeply patriotic. It's a very subtle patriotism that comes out at times, and we certainly see it during Olympic hockey tournaments that everyone, it comes out full force. And I think that speaks to the subtle nature of Canadian patriotism. I do think it's deeply rooted, and it's rooted in different values than the Americans. And so I feel it's certainly there. It manifests itself in different and indirect ways.